Okay, I showed this video from suspicious observers the other day, which is obviously from like the Soho cameras that look at the sun. And Ben Davidson himself was quite confused about why the sun, the outburst, spread around the whole sun to the backside of the ejection point. Well, I've already explained this to Ben, but he doesn't want to get in contact with me. I think he blocked me a long time ago because he thought I was nuts, but everything I've said has turned out to be true. So anyway, the reason that the sun became enveloped in some kind of matter that wraps itself around is because it was a halosphere, which is from vortex to wave to halo wave to halosphere. And I've shown this in several videos called atom cloaking and the halosphere. And it basically, a vortex turns into a Lorentz ring, and then that Lorentz ring dropped down and rolled itself to the back of the sun. So I'm just going to put up a 20-minute explanation now of what double helix energy actually does, because everything I say is easily explainable and repeatable, and what I say makes sense. All right, here we go. Okay. Today, Today we're going to talk about the Mars kill shot. What happened to the sun? Now the sun seemed to get covered, and the explosion from the sun ended up going behind it. And nobody knows how it happened, as well as something doing this just happened. Mars, anybody on Mars? Anybody on Mars is dead. Okay? X20 plus flare just hit Mars. So I agree with suspicious observers on this one, that if Elon Musk thinks he's going to send anybody to Mars, they're not really going to last very long, because at least an X-20 just shot itself at Mars, which means everything on Mars is now dead. Conspiracy theorists and anybody who thinks there's life on that planet, well, there might have been up until about 2 days ago. Now there's nothing on Mars because it was a Mars kill shot. If it had been aimed at Earth, would have killed a lot of things here, pretty much everything. That's what you don't want. So yeah, Mars is dead, okay? Ain't no aliens, and there isn't going to be any colony on there because it's too bloody dangerous. One thing I'm going to say though, Mars atmosphere is 0.2% of Earth's, roughly round about that. It's point something, which means 99% of it is gone. Okay? It's gone. So imagine our 1% of our atmosphere, and that would be generous, spread over the whole of Mars. Okay? So it doesn't have an atmosphere, which means its magnetic field is very, very small. Which is why the sun just fired at it, because this is magnetically connected to the sun, as all planets are. Unfortunately, it has no power, and so the connection is made, and the sun fed it energy. It fed Mars energy. Unfortunately, because Mars is so depleted of energy, it shot at it an X-20. Because Earth has a big EM field, the sun doesn't fire an X-20. We get X-8s. And still they cause damage. Our planet EM field is shrinking, which means what happened to Mars is exactly what's going to happen to the Earth when, biblically speaking, the sun goes dark. That's a universal voltage drop. And so when it comes back on, it's going to try and feed Earth power, because we won't have any. It disappeared. We'll hold a residual amount, but literally the atmosphere will come down to the surface, which is why we went inside the planet into the caves, 2 miles down in some places, because there wasn't an atmosphere up here. The EM field came in and we all had to go underground just to breathe, never mind keeping warm. So that is where your biblical devastation comes from. 3 days after this goes out, the sun, it'll relight and it's going to fire at least an X20 at us because, well, we've gone out. So it'll be at least an X20, maybe higher, and that is the wave which will sear across the planet and turn from electromagnetism into electricity like a gigantic electrical scythe running right across the earth. And in one day they will all fall like dung with nobody to pick them up. Biblical words that will become true due to the sun as seen by Mars. Now, what happened to the sun though? Well, it performed a halosphere, which means it shot out a vortex, it turned into a double helix wave, double helix vortex of energy. It turned into a double helix wave, which means one went left. This would be, hang on, let's look at rotation here. That's clockwise, so it goes down, so that's counterclockwise, which will roll left, and clockwise rolls right. And you can just do that by rotation. If something is going this way, it goes this way. If something is going this way, it's going to roll this way. So when they pass through each other, this one rolls that way, this one rolls that way. Now the reason it did this is because there's an electrical field around the sun. Okay? Mars is on one of these. So the Ouroboros wave, double helix wave, shot forward, hit this electrical barrier, rolled sideways, and then rolled around to here and did that. Meanwhile, the double helix beam, which is now invisible because it blew all the matter left and right, and energy is invisible until it meets matter. So this beam, which is shown by the two beams shooting out of it, that's the expulsion beam. This shot itself straight to Mars. So what is this? Now that I've told you, it's a halo wave to halosphere. Vortex to halo wave to vortex to wave to halo wave to halosphere. So I'm now going to show you this shape. So I'm just going to draw this over here. So we've got sun, and it just did that. There's a gap there on the sun when it was sideways. So I should probably do that again, otherwise somebody's going to tell me I'm wrong. Sorry. So sun, halo wave just did that. There was a gap at the back because this is a halo wave. Okay? Alright, now I'm going to draw the halo wave right here. So when energy comes out, this is going to be a little difficult because I'm going to have to draw it in 3D. So I'm going to show you what it does and I'm going to draw it as it is. But basically it's a smoke ring. Okay. So, because I have to draw it twice. So I'm going to have to draw this and then I'm going to fill it in 3D. That'll be the easiest. So out of the sun, I'm going to have to do this. It did that. Okay, now you might think that's, but I've got to fill it in and this is the beginning of 3D. So what just happened is that. So sun, now I'm going to fill in the rest of it. So it all went like that, and the Ouroboros torus ring is here. This This piece here is here, which is, I've drawn it sideways again, haven't I? What is wrong with me? I'm just drawing it as if it was a smoke ring. So, on the back here is a double helix, which is basically a rolled up tube, like that, which is travelling both that way and that way, and it raced around from where it was into a ring on the back side of the Sun. So that now looks like all of these are connected. Okay? But one wave that does that, and this is millions of waves all crossing to form this great big wave, it would spin around in a circle into the front. So the top view looks like that. It goes upwards, then it goes sideways because it meets a barrier. So this is the top view. It jumped upwards, went that way, split, and went sideways, which would be the field. And so it basically looks like an apple. You know, imagine an apple, but there's a space into the center here. Okay, and that's what's going on here. It all blew out like that, but then went like that, because that's what it does. I've drawn this 100 times. I'm trying to give you a 3D effect of it, but I can't because I'm not doing very well. Okay, so every time a new wave pops out, the first one pops out and it's just a T, like that. Okay, and then another one, then one goes one way, one goes the other, and then in the center of this it pushes it again and again and again until you get a T wave all the way around that links in. Clockwise, counterclockwise, clockwise, counterclockwise, clockwise, counterclockwise, counterclockwise, clockwise, counterclockwise, clockwise, because each wave is clockwise and counterclockwise. So every time one pushes through, the rotation is always the same. Clockwise, counterclockwise is pushing matter that way. Counterclockwise, counterclockwise. Clockwise is going that way, clockwise, clockwise, but counterclockwise pushes matter, or rotates matter backwards, pushes matter backwards, or rotates, I should say. Whereas clockwise, sorry, jeepers, how many times? Counterclockwise rotates matter forwards. So counterclockwise is going this way, counterclockwise is going that way, and that way. And once it, which is that way is clockwise, counterclockwise. So counterclockwise rotates matter forwards, whereas clockwise rotates matter, you've guessed it, backwards. So even though the wave is going this way to the right, matter is going the other way. So all matter is doing that. Okay? It's doing that. even when it spins around this way, even when it spins around this way. So it's kind of like this all billows out, and the ring is here right now. Okay, so you've got double helix this way, double helix that way, double helix this way, double helix that way, and they all interlink clockwise and counterclockwise, one alternating. So the matter is actually doing that, but inside it's actually doing that as well, because it's a double helix inside. So inside the counterclockwise is a clockwise, and inside the clockwise is a counterclockwise, which is why it rotates this way, and this way, and this way, and that way, and that way. So this Ouroboros torus ring, which is what it now is, so it went a load of waves all linked together. This wave now drops. It's not dropping, it's being pushed by all the energy that's piling out right here. Okay, so all this energy is shooting out. It hits the electrical barrier here, and so is forced around to the back. So remember, this is all leaders. All of this is just leaders all pushing. Okay, so this becomes leaders, and this ring, which is a smoke radiation ring, that's all it is, gets pushed down to the back of the sun. So the whole shape suddenly, and then it curls underneath, and it does that because it's trying to form a sphere, because that's how you make a sphere. You have an indent here and an indent here, like an apple, because apples and all that are formed by an Ouroboros sphere, and an Ouroboros is the snake that eats itself, because one end is a hole and one end is a point. Ain't that funny, Mr. Yin and Yang? So the snake that eats itself is the side cut-out version of a yin-yang, which is in fact an Ouroboros, which I've shown in magnetism, all kinds of different ways, each one fractal. So what you have now around the sun is that, and all of this is shooting energy this way, which is why interference hit all the Soho cameras and Lasco and everybody else and put static all over the screen, because energy travels perpendicular to the original flow. So it shot out, turned perpendicular, turned perpendicular, turned perpendicular, and then everything else shot out from that. So for me to just draw the sun and say it shot out and did that is a perfect representation of what just happened. And then here at the front of the sun, Mars, an Ouroboros torus field sat there with a point on it and fired out to the sun. So this was a heteromag. Along this was more of these at every level, but because it blew out all the matter, this is invisible. You can't see it. You can only see energy when it meets matter. So the only reason we can see matter is because light is shining on it, or which is vibrating through it and causing an electrofrequency vibration of the matter as it is expulsed from the thing you are looking at, which is where dust comes from, obviously. So this, along this, has invisible Ouroboros torus rings along this beam. Why? Because this is a heteromag formation, which is mainly kept to plasma instabilities, when in fact a plasma instability is a gas with energy running through it. So the gas will do what the energy tells it, and it will show its natural shape, which is a heteromag formation, which is what this video is all about. So there we go. That, my friends, is why the sun blew out in all directions with its Mars kill shot. It did that because that's what energy does. it creates an Ouroboros torus field. It is not a torus. It is a snake that eats itself wave, which creates a torus field. But it is all individual leaders, which is why filaments can be seen in smoke rings. Because energy rotates, no matter how small. Some people ask me, like, well, if all energy rotates, how do we get a straight line? Well, it's very easy, really. It's just a very small version of that. And so you get that. If I went, oh look, that's enlarged. Okay? God can make straight lines very, very easily, but they all rotate. Okay? That's how everything works. So anything can be straight, but more than likely it's round and bendy, because God is all about, you know, free will. So yeah, that's how you get a straight line. So that's another part of this video, just to explain what happened to the sun, because suspicious observers said on the 11th of September that he didn't know why it was happening, and he was wondering if anybody could say. So I wrote it on his page, but, you know, an explanation doesn't explain this. But whenever you see a smoke ring coming out of something like that, this drops down. This just keeps pumping out. Straight line vortex to the wave. Wave is already created. The wave is accepting energy. Oh yeah, I was going to say that too. And the reason we end up with a heteromach formation here is because this is a Lorentz effect acceleration ring, which is formed by energy coming out. So this is all attached to the front and back. But this is rotating energy here to accelerate it. And if anybody's clever out there, I haven't really give this too much thought, but Tesla's 139 or 369 or whatever it is to do with these rings. 1 split into 2 gives you 3, but gives you back 3 into this one, and then this one, what you get? 3. I did this the other day, it was dead easy. If only I had I don't even know. My pen's ran out, so I've lost my concentration. Forget about Tesla. Because I haven't got the paper with me, so I'm not even going to bother. But it's to do with these rings. You got 1 force of power coming in. It can't go any further. It hit the electrical barrier here. So this ring forms until either the energy stops or so much energy is added it comes out the other side. And it's that plus the 2 rings plus what it just fed back into the middle, because it feeds it back like that, and this goes back into the middle. So you got 1, 3, and now you've got a 3er coming out of the center here. Okay, that's as far as I'm going to take it. But this next one will be the same. It will be 3 plus 3 plus 3. Is that right? 3 split into 2 is 3 this side, 3 this side, equals 6, but plus that 1 gives you 9. So you got your 1, 3 and 9, and there's a 6 in between, but that's because it's all added back there, and then gives you the 9 because of the 3 and the 3. But that together is 6, add on them together is 9. That is 1, that is 2, add them together, you get 3 in there. 3 plus 3 plus 3, that is 6, that is now a beam of 9. So it's along those lines. But it's to do with the Lorentz effect acceleration rings of energy. Everything gets fed back to the center and then shot out. Alright, that'll be enough for this video, because I'm going to add it to all the other videos. Thanks a lot. Okay, because I've got a big video going about the Halowave, trying to explain it all, but I'm using everything else. So I'm releasing this now because it's going to be at least a week till I've got the big video going. I'm releasing this now so it doesn't get too far away from the Mars kill shot, so that it's fresh in people's minds. Alright, thanks very much. My name is Lee. I follow the Christ, and I show you the things that he's been showing me for 3.5 years. Thanks a lot. Bye.